Ignition sequence start. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
Hey everybody, this is the Digital Asset Investor, and tonight is one of the nights of the year that I dread the most. Tonight is the national championship game for college football here in the United States, and so it's going to be Clemson versus LSU. Tonight is the night every year that myself and my fantasy football league we settle up our bets, and this year was not a very good year for me. I was too busy to focus on fantasy football much. And so I didn't do so well this year, but I dread it for another reason. I don't like going and having to stay up late on Monday nights. Maybe I'm just getting old. I don't like having to stay up late on Monday nights, and these guys are a partying crowd. So it makes tomorrow a bad day for me. Tuesday, I don't want to wake up on a Tuesday and feel bad and have stayed up too late. And sometimes they even make me throw down a shot. So to celebrate, I guess, the end of just another reason to celebrate something, the end of the season or whatever. But anyway, I wanted to start, by the way, everybody seems to have their money on LSU, and for that reason, I have my money on Clemson. Last year, for those of you that remember, Clemson beat Alabama when nobody thought Clemson was going to beat Alabama. This quarterback has not even lost a game in 2 years, if ever. So I don't bet against the long-haired quarterback for Clemson. Forget what his name is. Anyway, okay, I wanted to start this off. I'm sure it's not just me, but I miss Hodor's blogs. Hodor was one of the guys that I followed from the very start when I got into social media around XRP, and he's a very optimistic guy, and he's very confident about Ripple and XRP, and always was. And so I miss his blogs. So every once in a while I go back and I look at some of his old blogs and read. He had a lot of great quotes in there. This is one of them. At what XRP price point will Ripple be worth $1 trillion? XRP price equals $17. So he ran the calculations. This was in 2018. Just so you're mentally and emotionally prepared for it, the price won't stop at $17. It will keep going past this artificial construct that makes people uncomfortable. Now, here's the blog where that quote was. If you want to go read it, I highly recommend that you go back, and I think this thing may have gone back a little ways, but I think it was January. Let me go back here to the top. I think this blog is from this is it. This is from January this was a good one. January 23rd of 2018. But this guy's really smart, and he's really no holds barred and optimistic about where XRP is going and Ripple and how much it's going to change the world. And I highly recommend, if any of you haven't gone back and looked at his blogs, you need to do so. Michelle Vandenberg sent me this. This is from XRP Researcher. Friendly reminder, today at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, the Fed Payments Improvement will be having a meeting, Go Global, a review of progress and pain in cross-border payments. Now, he said he's going to cover this in the Cliff Notes on his website. It's xrprightnow.com is XRP Researcher's website. And you can follow him at XRP News _ if you want to give him a follow. Now, this right here hit home with me. This is an article that came out today. Coinbase hands nearly $1 million to Cryptsy victims after settling class action lawsuit. Those of you that don't know, when I got in this in 2013, Cryptsy is the website where just about everybody who wanted to get into digital assets besides Bitcoin, this is where we traded. Now, Cryptsy ended up being a fraud, and I was affected by this just like everybody. This lawsuit, I actually went and spoke to the attorneys in this lawsuit, and they said that unless you had screenshots of your holdings on Cryptsy, they would not give you anything. And I never got anything. And let me go a step further. I even talked to the attorneys. I said, well, and this is where this lawsuit hits home with me. I said, well, you can track all of this. You can see the money that goes from Coinbase into Cryptsy. You can track all of that. They weren't interested in that. So I never saw a penny out of this lawsuit, and I was one of the victims of it, and that's what I was told at the time. So there you go. And by the way, those of you that don't know, the Cryptsy founder, the way this happened, he claimed he was hacked. And then the next thing you knew, he had skipped town to China, and he was never seen again. He went by Big Vern on Twitter, and it's very public who he was, and his face is out there, and name and everything else. If you've been around crypto for any period of time, you've been burned in one way or another, even if it's just not selling at the top of some of these bull runs. X-Men XRP at XRP 33 sent me this. We talked about, excuse me. We talked this morning about the MoneyGram deal where they have gone into India. This is from Bank XRP, where he put a video out where this guy's being interviewed. This is the guy who's the CEO of this EBIX Cash. So you can go watch this video if you want to. It says this deal will give MoneyGram access to the company's franchise network, says the chairman, on the co-signing an agreement with global money transfer and payment services player MoneyGram to expand presence in India. So what that means, folks, is Ripple and MoneyGram and XRP are going into India. Let's spell it out. There you go. And then this was from Crypto Utility Guy at Utility Guy 7 sent me this, and this was MoneyGram's actual announcement of this. We've recently entered into an agreement with EBIX Cash to expand our presence in India, making it our exclusive money transfer partner in the country. We will now be able to reach more customers through EBIX Cash's 320,000 distribution outlets. So there you go, folks. There are literally billions in China. This is a big, big deal. Now, this is pretty funny. This came from the Crypto Utility Guy as well. I tried to go into this and look at this, but I couldn't because sometimes Bloomberg, I think you must have to pay them. They don't give you the entire article, and I'm not a subscriber to that. But it says a textbook guide to digital currencies via China's Communist Party. I laughed when I saw this because the first rule in the book probably has to be that if you live in China, you're not going to be allowed to invest in digital assets unless it's a Chinese-controlled digital asset. And that's probably pretty darn true. I don't imagine they're going to let anybody invest in these things unless they're the ones controlling them. Okay, Chinu Patel at Chinu Patel 29, who is like a rock star on this channel, sent me another hilarious installment from XRP, the Standard Productions. Now, this is parody, folks, but he puts out some funny ones. New Swift Prime promises 2-day cross-border payments, making an effort to remain relevant in the increasingly innovative world of cross-border payments. The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunication announced their plans today to begin Swift Prime, a membership program that ensures 2-day cross-border payment transactions. And if you go down here, it's really funny. It says, let's see, what was the funny part? This will be much better, assured Perez Tasso, explaining that for a small fee of $750,000 per month, banks subscribing to Swift Prime will have guaranteed 2-day deliveries of suitcases of cash to complete their transfers. Plus, you get access to our Swift Prime video where you have free access to thousands of banking lectures on demand. I laughed out loud when I read that part. This guy, XRP Productions, is knocking it out of the park with that. I love it. Michelle Vandenberg, you're up. This is from Maddie Greenspan. This is some scary economic things. There's 3 things I wanted to show you. The first is this one. Outstanding mortgage debt is now noticeably higher than it was during the peak of the 2007 housing bubble. I want to show you these things because our economy is building up to an obvious collapse. You don't have to, all you have to have is about a quarter of a brain to see what's coming. But I believe it's going to be a collapse that is rolled into the digital asset space. So you got outstanding mortgage debt that's now higher than it was in the peak of 2000. Then you got this. This is from this Vin Hirich guy. Central banks own this. And what it is a tweet about global debt. Oops, global debt smashes records again, piling up at the fastest rate since 2016, nearing $253 trillion, equal to 322% of global GDP in Q3 2019. So-and-so warns. EM debt exceeded 72 trillion, 223% of GDP, while debt in developed world topped $180 trillion, folks. Look at it. All right, I'm going to have to decline that call. That was the official father of the digital asset investor. I will be calling you back, Dad. Then this was from John Gramlich. The net worth of the typical American family is about 30% below what it was before the Great Recession. In other words, we're not the bailed out class, folks. The bailed out class, they've done great in the last 10 years. But the rest of the population, all they did is they kicked the middle class right in the you-know-what is what they did. 2007, it was 146,600. 2016, 101,800. The wealth of U.S. families is yet to recover from the Great Recession. That's because they didn't fix anything, folks. All they did is papered over the problem, and the chickens are coming home to roost, folks, unless you're in digital asset. Well, the chickens are coming home to roost for these governments and central banks. But for you and I, investors in digital asset, it is my full belief that we are saving ourselves because these banks aren't going to save anything except themselves. All right. And then Sergeant Obi-Wan sent me this. 2030, the end of fiat currencies. QE, overprinted fiat, and much more has caused this. Here's the article. 2030, the end of fiat currencies. Deutsche Bank has released a report arguing that the next decade could usher in the end of fiat currencies. Could their analysis be right, and what part does cryptocurrency have to play in that part? Did fiat money create inflation? Well, the bottom line is they're talking about fiat. Now, here's what I think. I think that digital assets are going to force these central banks into a responsible situation. I think they're going to hit a reset button, and then I think there will be central bank digital currencies, but I think they're going to be forced into a situation where they're not hitting print buttons at will. Because I think that the citizens will realize that if they keep doing that they're going to go and try to put their money in digital assets that do have finite amounts. And I think they're going to be rushing to do that anyway, Bitcoin being one, XRP being one. I think XRP is going to bridge all of these walled gardens across the world. I think I'll use the phrase that was used to me by someone on the phone the other day. I believe that, quote, all the money in the world is going to be sloshing around, bridged through XRP at some point. I believe that what that means for you and me are amounts and things that you and I can't even imagine. Okay, I truly believe this, and this is not just coming up with something off of the top of my head. This is after years of talking about Ripple and XRP and researching it and watching videos and reading and talking to people behind the scenes. That's what I've arrived at. All, quote, all the money in the world. Now, you decide what that means for you as an XRP investor. I'm not going to spell it out or anything. I think you can figure out what I believe that means. Sergeant Obi-Wan, U.S. controls 66.2% of Bitcoin ATMs worldwide. Data shows. Now, he said the title is misleading. What this article really means is 66% of the Bitcoin ATMs are on U.S. soil. Think about what happens when they're not just all on U.S. soil and this spider web just begins to work its way out. Great things, folks. And finally, also from Sergeant Obi-Wan, decentralized social network built on Ripple's XRP ledger is being developed via News Logical, a new age media covering latest development. Now, let's see. This is an article. I didn't look at the article, but the bottom line is that there are, and whether it's this one or other ones, there's going to be decentralized social media platforms that are created. So that these social media platforms, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or anybody else, Twitter, so that they can't silence what you say. They can't tell you what you can and can't say. If I were those companies, I would realize that those things represent the death of my company unless I do one of two. Well, really, unless I just turn my platform into a decentralized platform. And I don't know how they would go about doing it. Okay, for those of you that don't know, I've got a 20%. I think it's just me that's offering this. In the description of every video I've done the last 5 or 6 days, 20% discount. This is how I store my digital assets, mostly on a Ledger Nano S. It's the safe way to keep them off exchanges, so you don't have to worry about an exchange defrauding you. You get to be in control of your private keys. Now, I've got a 20% discount. It's only going to last until the 17th of January, and they're only offering it to the first 200 customers to either click on the link. I've got a code. It's a special code that they gave me where you can get your 20% off. Go in the description of my video. You'll see the code. It's like DAI something or other, but go in there and look at it. I'm the digital asset investor. I'm not an investment advisor. This is for entertainment purposes only. Please subscribe. Hit the like button. Tell your friends and family. If you want 20% off of the Ledger Nano S, it's in the description of my video until January the 17th, and it's only for the first 200 people. Thank you for listening.